Want to go to Senator James Lankford. Happy to see him in the flesh. I can tell you, he has a lower torso and everything goes with it. Senator, great to see you.
Thank you for coming. Well, we normally talk when I'm in D.C. and you're here in New York.
That's right.
We get a chance to go back and forth.
Let me ask you a little bit about what our reporter Nate Foy was talking about, that the pause stopped after 7 days.
Right.
Very little prospect, Senator, as things stand now, that hostages are magically going to be released in a still fighting environment. Does it worry you now that Hamas has closed the door on that and that is simply not going to happen?
Yeah, well, we need to continue to be able to press to be able to get hostages out, clearly. There was a maximum amount of leverage that Israel was putting on Hamas, both striking Hamas targets, being very clear that they're not going to back up. That created the opportunity before for the hostages to come out. Israel is still very focused on we cannot allow a Hamas terrorist to be able to function right next door to us, as we wouldn't allow al-Qaeda to be able to bring an attack to us. They're certainly not going to allow the Hamas to continue to be able to thrive, that they are knowingly, deliberately, each day planning the attack. Even 2 days ago, when the pause was still underway at that point, we still have Hamas terrorists that are attacking at an Israeli bus station in Jerusalem.
Right. And they killed 3 people, injured half a dozen others.
Correct.
So that's the risk in dealing with Hamas. But another risk is facing pressure from the White House if you're the Israeli government, because they seem to be sending a clear signal. Another pause is in order to get more of these hostages out. I've had a number of top Israeli officials here, Senator, who say to a man or woman, if it risks saying no to the United States, and we love the United States, and we have great respect for your government, but this is our home, our place, right, our security, we're not going to do that.
And shouldn't. The pressure that Israel put on Hamas before is what caused the first round. They're going to put pressure on again to be able to cause the second round. This is not going to be, let's just be peaceful and not do anything and assume Hamas, out of the goodness of their heart, is going to release this. They don't have goodness in their heart. They have to have pressure applied to them to actually release the next round. So that is the best hope for the hostages, is more pressure.
The House is passing this bill that is going to block Iran from the $6 billion they had in an earlier hostage swap deal. I don't know if it's too little too late, but I do think, Senator, that to the best of my knowledge, Iran is sitting on about $10 billion of its own. Some say double that. I'm going to go with the conservative figure, that it's in their hands now in Iran. So even if they don't get access to billions of dollars more held abroad, if it's frozen maybe ad nauseum into forever, that's a lot of money to do a lot of harm.
It is, and a lot of that money came from a release of sanctions from the Biden administration early on. They wanted to convince Iran to come back to the table to negotiate on the Iran nuclear deal, and the way they did that was loosen up the sanctions on Iran, allowing them to be able to sell a lot more oil. We didn't have secondary sanctions out there. They gained more money with that, and they used that money to be able to funnel into Hamas and Hezbollah.
Do you support this effort then, Senator, that the House approved?
Oh, absolutely. They should have never done that. They should have never given cash to Iran. We know where that cash goes in the process.
But do we know where that cash is?
That cash is currently being held in foreign banks at this point, and the United States still has the leverage on its release. So what I've asked the administration directly is, has any of that money been released to Iran? Their direct statement back to me is no, none of that $6 billion has been released to Iran. It is still being held in a foreign account, and it is in cooperation with the
Why would Iran have accepted that?
Yeah, you'd have to ask the Iranians on that one. Obviously, there was a larger swap that was involved in that as well, but I would only tell you that at the end of the day, the more money that Iran has, the less that they're able to actually fund, or the more they're going to fund terrorism. When I talked to the leaders in Lebanon years ago, and we had actually done secondary sanctions on Iran, they actually greeted me and said, thank you. Whatever you're doing right now on Iran is causing Hezbollah to run out of funds here. That is a benefit to be able to do. That was then taken away when the Biden administration came on to extend their hand and to take the first step, and Iran smiled and just took the money and expanded terrorism.
Yeah, and they didn't even have to run. They just took the money.
Correct.
Senator, great seeing you again. Senator James Lankford of the beautiful state of Oklahoma. And he is a real individual. Sometimes when you see people remote, yeah, he's the real deal.